your view on remote work? Now that people are out of job, we'll be having a lot of people either working exclusively for others or working for multiple people. From the HR perspective and from like regular employees perspective, and for the entrepreneurs here who'll be needing to employ people, what's your view on remote work? What do people need to do to ensure that it works effectively?
Okay. First of all, you have to have work to do before you can work remotely. And you can't decide to work remotely on your own if it's not part of the strategy of your organization. Now, as organizations begin to adopt this concept of remote working, which has always been there, it has always been there, but we're just going to see a rise in remote work. Now, if I have to speak to the environment in which I am, I can tell you that as much as it can permit, people should adopt remote work. Why? All the safety and security concerns associated with, commuting from one place to another, you completely eliminate that. Then the roads are not as safe, as they used to be, even traveling and all of that, considering what we have just seen, even with the travel industry triggered by COVID and all that. You see? Now, all the associated costs that people have to bear, and, for commuting, Jide rightly mentioned that because people are not commuting right now, they are saving a lot of money. So organizations who have to send people constantly, for cross-border postings, in international travels, even local travels for meetings or one engagement or the other, will have to reduce a lot of their travel expenses and all associated costs that go with that. You talk about hotel accommodation, you talk about per diem, out-of-pocket expenses, and all of those stuff. So there will be a reduction in also physical, workplace. The size of workspace you originally needed might not be as much. If you have to put a couple of your people to work remotely, you realize you cut down on your space. So you're going to be saving a lot, on that. Now, as much as that is wonderful, is going to, part of the thing, what it's going to do, is it's not just enough to say you want to work remotely. You need to create the enabling environment for that to happen. And for it to happen, you need to give tools, that can enable employees to collaborate. Collaboration is very, very important. What tools can help them collaborate more? What do you have video conferencing tools such that, like we're doing now, teams can meet regularly, and all of that. Then what about task management? Task or project management. There are tools that can help you, to achieve some of these things so that if somebody is working remotely, they can be very much engaged because, the employee engagement is also very key. If you have people who are working remotely and they are not engaged, they feel like they are really not doing anything for you. And before you know it, they use your time and they start looking for another job. Yeah. Now, coming to speak to the environment in which I find myself, I won't say generally in Africa, but I will speak to Nigeria because you'll be surprised that there are a lot of places who are far better than us. Now, working remotely, you're riding digital completely. You're riding digital, you're riding on digital platforms to get this thing done. One of the first challenges, like people who tried it out during this COVID period, is first of all, the culture shock that people experience. Not having to wake up, engage their normal routine and go to work, to a brick and mortar place where they used to work. People have to retune their mind, get in the right frame of mind to know that every morning I have to get this thing done, and a lot of things have changed. There is no, inspiration suddenly has no office hours. You can't say this is when I start, you can't say this is when I end. I was discussing with my wife recently because she's doing a lot of that. And she says, I don't even know when start time is, when it's clock in time and when it's clock out time, because almost all day you're working. Sometimes you're having meetings into late nights, 9 p.m., and all of that. You're still sharing tasks back and forth, reviewing projects, and all of that. So you're able to do that. That concept of being confined to a particular environment and a particular work period, say 9 to 5, it has to change. First of all, people's mindset must change. Now, coming to the second and very big issue, which is mobile data. We are using data to get this thing done. In the environment where we find ourselves, the average cost of 1 gig data is about $2.2. That's the average cost. I would not say it's too expensive. I would not say it's cheap as well, but it can be better. When you consider some other environments,
Nigeria,
we're not one of the top 10.
Right?
Yes, I'm speaking to Nigeria right now because I'm speaking for the environment where I find myself. If organizations need to enable remote work, they need to ensure that their staff have data. Because if people have to pay out of their pocket for this data, which costs so much, how much are they going to be, left with at the end of the month after they have paid for data? You find some places like Rwanda that is about maybe 30 cents or thereabout, or 20-something cents for 1 gig of data. So data must be invested in, internet penetration. Well, that is one other thing. People live in areas where, I don't know. I don't know how much spread of internet. There are people who have to drive for miles and come out from where they are before they can get some level of connectivity to join in a meeting in the office. Yes, it still happens. You see, you're smiling and you're laughing because you can just, open your device and then you're connected and you can do whatever. A lot of people are still experiencing these things. So these are some of the challenges people are going to keep facing here. Now coming to personal devices and all of that. Most organizations will tell you that you're not supposed to work with any device that is not company device. Things are changing. People will have, either you have to let them work with their own devices from whatever location, or you provide the devices for them to work from wherever they are going to be working from. Mind you, remote work does not necessarily mean you're working from home. You could be at the beach and you have internet access and you're doing whatever work you need to do. You could be at the laundromat and you have your device right there and you're doing the work you need to do. You could be at a barbecue party and then you're doing whatever you need to do. So it's not necessarily, it just means you're working from a remote location, which is not that physical, work environment. Now, talking about electricity supply, we know how wonderful it is still here, grappling to generate how many, watts of energy for us to work. A lot of people have been locked down at home during this period. Now, you schedule a meeting for a specific time. How many people can log in at that time? Because they have power. Energy is a major issue. So some of these things, they need to work, hand in hand. They must work together for that efficiency, to be able to, to be achieved. So, and again, Jide, you talked about, several solutions being free that people can actually, we cannot make it basically free. People can actually, you can dump more or less a process, part of your process on another organization, then they help you carry out that process, while you focus on your core area. But also, even looking at, because part of what we do is software, is HR technology advisory, and now, if you check the average cost per user of a lot of these solutions, it's not cheap. And where I find myself, we don't have so many local solutions. There are very few competing, with each other and all of that. Now, if you have to do the average cost and multiply by the number of users and all of that, you still realize that how many organizations can really afford. We need to have unlike where you are, you have almost over 2,000 different solutions you can choose from. You have so many you can choose from, but right here we don't have as many. And another thing is policies will need to change. Policies, you need to tell people where they can work from. For issue, particularly in your area, Tayo, the issue of internet security, and data protection. some people frown at working from public Wi-Fi, using the public Wi-Fi, particularly in hotels and all that, so that you can't breach any security protocol.
You should.
So a lot of policies around these things are going to change. You can tell people where they can work from and where they cannot work from, or what Wi-Fi they can use. Not really where they can work from, what Wi-Fi they can use to connect and what they cannot use, so that you can maintain the integrity of your network and not having, what do you call it, hackers, break into your security, breach your security protocol, and then have access to data they are not supposed to have.